of third prep. Today we are going to start a new lesson, which is solving second degree equations algebraically. Let us start solving second degree equation algebraically. How can we solve a second degree equation algebraically? Let us start. Then the equation x squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0 has how many solutions? As it is a quadratic equation, so it has two solutions. What are they? Yes, the two solutions are x equals 3 and x equals 1. How? Try to substitute by x equals 3 and x equals 1 in this quadratic equation. You are going to find that the result will be 0. Let us see. When x equals 3, substitute. So it is 3 to the power of 2 minus 4 times 3 plus 3 equals 0. Do you notice? The answer is 0 as the answer of the equation. Try to substitute by x equals 1. By substituting, you are going to find that 1 to the power of 2 minus 4 times 1 plus 3 equals 0. Do you notice? X equals 3 and x equals 1 give a result for this equation equals 0. But you have another way to find the solution. Then, how can we find the solution in another way? By making factorization. Do you remember factorization from the previous year? Yes. What about factorization? Let us see. It is x to the power of 2 minus 4x plus 3 equals 0. You are going to factorize x power 2 as x and x. And what about the factorization of 3? The only one is 1 by 3. So the two brackets will be x and 3 and x and 1. What about the signs? The last term is positive, so the two signs are like each other. Either both are negative or both are positive. You are going to choose that both of them will be with a negative sign. Why? Because of the middle term, which is negative 4. As the middle term is negative, so the two brackets will have a negative sign. Then you are going to notice that x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 1 equals 0. When you multiply two numbers, give a result as 0. So either the first number equals 0 or the second number equals 0. Then either x minus 3 equals 0 or x minus 1 equals 0. And in this case, we can find that the value of x will be 3. And the other value of x will be 1. And in this case, we can say that the solution set of this equation is 3 and 1. Then, to find the solution set of a quadratic equation, you are going to make the factorization process, which we have studied the previous year. Now, let us have an example. Find the solution set of the following in R. Let us start by the first example. X to the power of 2 minus 2x equals 0. Do you remember how to factorize such a quadratic equation? Yes, of course. You have taken the previous years that you have a common factor in both terms of such the equation, which is what? Which is the x. So you are going to take x as a common factor and then open brackets, x minus 2 equals 0. Someone is asking, how can we find x minus 2? Take care. When you take a common factor x, you are going to divide. X to the power of 2 divided x gives x. And then negative 2x divided x gives negative 2. And then it is equal to 0. you have two terms multiplied by each other equals 0. So we can say that either x equals 0, the first term, or the other one, which is x minus 2 equals 0. And in this case, we can say that x equals 2. So finally, we can find that the solution set of the equation equals 0 and 2. Another example to find the solution set. X to the power of 2 plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. Now, can you factorize? You are going to write two brackets. X power 2 is going to be factorized as x and x. What about 6? Yes, 6 is either 1 multiplied 6 or 2 multiplied 3. Which group are you going to choose? 1 and 6 or 2 and 3? And why? You are going to choose 1 and 6. Why? Because 6 is with a negative sign. So we are going to find the two numbers, which is the difference between them, gives the middle term, which is 5. So in this case, we are going to write two brackets, x, 6 is 6 times 1. What about their signs? The last term is with a negative sign. So when you have the last term with a negative sign, you are going to notice that one of the brackets is positive and the other is negative. How can you choose which of them is positive and which of them is negative? By looking carefully at the middle term. The middle term is with a positive sign, so you are going to take positive for the larger term, which is the 6. So it is x plus 6. The other bracket is x minus 1 multiplied by each other equals 0. When you have two terms multiplied by each other equals 0, so either the first term equals 0 or the second term equals 0. So either x plus 6 equals 0 or x minus 1 equals 0. In this case, can you find the value of x? Yes, x equals negative 6 or x equals 1. And in this case, we can say that the solution set of the equation is negative 6 and 1. Let us have another example. Find also the solution set of the equation 8x to the power of 3 plus 1 equals 0. Oh, do you remember? How can you factorize sum of two cubes? Do you remember? You are going to have two brackets. One is a small bracket and the other is a big bracket. What about the small bracket? You are going to find cubic root of the first term. What about cubic root 8x to the power of 3? Yes, of course, it's 2x. Then you are going to find the cubic root of the second term, which is cubic root of 1. What about cubic root of 1? It's 1. So the first bracket will be 2x and 1. What about the sign? It's positive as the middle is positive. So the first bracket will be 2x plus 1. What about the second bracket? How can you find the second bracket? The first term, which is 2x, the first term in the small bracket, which is 2x, you are going to square it. So what about 2x all to the power of 2? It will give 4x to the power of 2. Also, you are going to square the second term of the small bracket, which is 1 to the power of 2 gives 1. What about the middle term? It is the first term of the small bracket multiplied by the second term of the small bracket and put a different sign than the middle sign. So it is 2x times 1 gives 2x with a different sign, so the middle term will be negative 2x. These two brackets are multiplied by each other gives 0. So either the first bracket equals 0 or the second bracket equals 0. But all of you know that the big bracket of the factorization of the sum of two cubes is unfactorized. So you cannot find a value for x. It means that 2x plus 1 is the only one which is equal to 0. How can you find the value of x? Yes, you are going to find that 2x equals negative 1. And then to find the value of x, so x equals negative 1 over 2. Of course, by dividing both sides of the equation by 2. So in this case, we can say that the solution set of such an equation is negative 1 over 2. Let us have another example for how to find the solution set of the equation. What about this problem? It is 4x to the power of 2 minus 25 equals 0. Do you remember which type of factorization is it? Yes, of course, it is difference between two squares. How can you make such factorization? Two brackets. In the first bracket, you are going to take the square root of the first term. So square root of 4x to the power of 2 is 2x. And then you are going to find the square root of the other term or the last term, which is square root 25, gives 5. What about the sign? The last sign is negative. So when the last term is with a negative sign, you have to write one is of negative sign and the other is with a positive sign. So the two brackets will be 2x minus 5. The other bracket will be 2x plus 5 multiplied by each other equals 0. Now you have two terms multiplied by each other equals 0. So either the first term, which is 2x minus 5 equals 0, or the other term, which is 2x plus 5 equals 0. Now, can you find the value of x in each part? Of course, yes. In the first part, you are going to find that 2x equals 5. And then, what about x? X equals 5 over 2 by dividing both terms of the equation by 2. But what about the other part, which is 2x plus 5 equals 0? Yes, you can find the value of x by subtracting both sides by 5. So it is 2x plus 5 minus 5 equals negative 5. You are going to notice that 2x equals negative 5. And then by dividing both terms of the equation by 2, you are going to notice that x equals negative 5 over 2. And in this case, we can say that the solution set of this equation is 5 over 2 or negative 5 over 2. And it can be written in another form, which is positive or negative 5 over 2. Both are correct. Let us have another example. Also find the solution set in R. What about the equation? It is 9x to the power of 2 plus 1 equals 0. In this case, you cannot make the factorization process. So, I can hear someone saying, Miss, we are going to subtract both terms of the equation by 1. So, it is 9x to the power of 2 plus 1 minus 1 equals 0 minus 1. And in this case, you are going to find that 9x to the power of 2 equals negative 1. By dividing both terms by 9, you are going to find that x to the power of 2 equals negative 1 over 9. To find the value of x, you must have to take the square. Now, can you find the square root for a negative number in the set of real numbers? Of course not, you cannot. So in this case, we can say that the solution set of this equation equals phi. What does the solution equals phi means? Yes, of course, it means that there is no value for x when substituting by it in the equation will give a result equals 0. Now, let us have another example. Find the solution set also of the equation 2x minus 3 multiplied by x minus 5 equals 9. First of all, when you look carefully to such an example, you are going to notice that it is not a quadratic function. Why? Because quadratic function, its greatest power must be 2. And here you haven't a second degree equation. So first of all, you are going to multiply the two brackets together. First of all, you are going to multiply 2x by x, so it gives 2x to the power of 2. And multiply negative 3 times negative 5, it will give positive 15. And what about the product of means and extremes? They are 2x times negative 5 gives negative 10x, and negative 3 times x gives negative 3x. So you are going to obtain an equation as 2x to the power of 2 minus 13x plus 15, and put 9 on the other side, minus 9 equals 0. Can you collect here the like terms, which are 15 minus 9 because they are numbers? Of course, yes. So you are going to obtain an equation as 2x to the power of 2 minus 13x plus 6 equals 0. When you look carefully to such an equation, you are going to notice that it became in the form of the quadratic equation. Its greatest power is to the power of 2. Now, can you make the factorization? Of course, yes. How? You are going to write two brackets. The first bracket is 2x, the other bracket is x. And what about 6? You are going to notice that you are going to choose 1 by 6. How? As follows. 2x minus 1 multiplied by x minus 6 equals 0. Then 2x minus 1 equals 0, or x minus 6 equals 0. In this case, we can say that 2x minus 1 equals 0. Can you find the value of x? Yes, of course. So 2x will be equal to 1, and then x equals half. What about the other side? X minus 6 equals 0. So we can say that x equals 6. And here we can say that the solution set of such an equation is 1 over 2 and 6. Now let us have another example to find the solution set in R. What about it? It is x minus 7 over 3 equals negative 4 over 3x. Oh, what a such an equation. What about it? It's something very strange. Why is it very strange? Because it has a denominator, which are 3 and 3x. So we are going to multiply the whole equation by 3x, which is the denominator. Why? So as not to have a denominator in the equation. What about x multiplied by 3x? Of course, yes, it is equal to 3x to the power of 2. Then what about negative 7 over 3 multiplied by 3x? It will give negative 7x equals. What about negative 4 over 3x multiplied by 3x? You are going to obtain a result as negative 4. There is only one step to find the form of the quadratic equation which we have studied from the beginning of the lesson, which is to put the negative 4 on the other side. So it is 3x to the power of 2 minus 7x plus 4 equals 0. Yes, of course. Now it is not strange. Why? Because it is in the form of the quadratic equation which we have studied before. Then can you make the factorization? Of course, yes. Two brackets. The first bracket is 3x minus 4. The other one is x minus 1. Multiplied by each other equals 0. So either the first bracket, which is 3x minus 4 equals 0, or the other one, which is x minus 1 equals 0. in this case, we can find the value of x. So 3x equals 3x equals 4. Then what about x? X equals 4 over 3. Then what about the other value of x? Yes, x equals 1. And in this case, we can say that the solution set of the equation is 4 over 3 and 1. Now, let us have a new lesson, which is the non-negative integer powers. What about non-negative integer powers? At the very beginning, do you remember? Now, what about 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2? You are going to notice that the 2 is repeated 3 times. So we can write it in another form, which is 2 to the power of 3. And we know that the result will be 8. What about 2 to the power of 3? The 2 is called the base, and the 3 is called the power. Then, what about negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3? You are going to notice that negative 3 is repeated, multiplied by itself 5 times. So it can be written as negative 3 all to the power of 5. And in this case, its result is going to be negative 243. Now we are going to have some rules. Do you remember? What about 2 power 4 times 2 power 2? Yes, of course, the result will be 2 to the power of 6. What do you notice? You are going to notice that when you have the same base, 2, and there is a multiplication sign between them, you are going to write this base, and then you are going to add the powers, so 4 plus 2 equals 6. So this rule is going to be a to the power of m times a to the power of n, the same base multiplication sign, so the result will be this base, which is a to the power of m plus n. Then you are going to add the powers. For the values of m and n belongs to n, which is the set of natural numbers. Then what about 5 to the power of 5 divided 5 to the power of 2? You have the same base 5, and there is a division sign between them. So the result will be the same base, which is 5, and you are going to subtract the powers. So 5 minus 2 equals 3. Then the result will be 5 to the power of 3. And in this case, we can say that a to the power of m divided a to the power of n equals a to the power of m minus n, where m and n belongs to the set of natural numbers, and m is going to be greater than or equal n, as the power will be a positive number. Let us take another rule. 2 to the power of 4 to the power of 5. When you have power, you are going to multiply the powers. So the base will be the same 2, then multiply the powers, so it is 4 times 5, then the result will be 2 to the power of 20. And in this case, we can say that a to the power of m to the power of n equals a to the power of m times n, where m and n belongs to the set of natural numbers. Another rule, when you have a fraction, 2 over 5 all to the power of 4. The power 4 is for the 2 or the 5 or for both of them. Of course, it is for both of them. So it is 2 to the power of 4 over 5 to the power of 4. And in this case, we can say that a over b all to the power of m equals a to the power of m over b to the power of m. And this means that we are going to distribute the powers for the numerator and the denominator. What about the last rule? It is 3x all to the power of 2. What about power of 2? Is it for the 3 or the x or both of them? Of course, for both of them. So it is 3 to the power of 2 gives 9, x to the power of 2. And in this case, we can say that if you have ab to the power of m, so the result will be a to the power of m times b to the power of m. By the end of this example, we reached the end of our lesson today. I wish that all of you understood this lesson, and we are going to meet next week, inshallah. I wish all of you the best of luck. Bye-bye.